Welcome to the CSS Digital Studios Know Your Rights broadcast, brought to you in collaboration with the Legal Clinic Hawaii, the American Civil Liberties Union Hawaii, the Oʻahu Rapid Response Coalition, and the Refugee and Immigration Clinic of University of Hawaii's William S. Richardson School of Law. Today we'll be bringing you vital information about the rights afforded to everyone in the U.S. Then, our Q&A section will bring you answers to frequently asked questions from qualified legal professionals. Stick around afterwards for information from each of our collaborators about the services they provide and how you can get involved. Thank you for being with us. Keep in mind that this presentation is informational, not legal advice. First, allow me to introduce Preston Anchetta of the Digital Studios team.
Thanks, Savvy. I'm Preston Anchetta, here to teach you about your rights. Regardless of immigration status, we all have rights under the U.S. Constitution, the Hawaii State Constitution, and Hawaii state law. In order to preserve these rights, we must exercise them. Listen carefully and make sure to stay tuned to updates as many policies are changing rapidly. Keep in mind that different rules apply to the Department of Homeland Security and federal agents than to state police. If you're tuned in, you might have been hearing a lot of news lately about the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS. But what exactly is this department? DHS was created by former President George W. Bush after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. This action combined 22 federal departments and agencies into a single cabinet-level department. Under DHS is Customs and Border Patrol, or the CBP. The CBP is responsible for upholding laws on the movement of humans, drugs, and arms. Included in the CBP is Border Patrol, which conducts Border Patrol activities along the coast and land borders of the U.S. and Puerto Rico. Border is defined as 100 miles around the U.S. border, which includes the entire state of Hawaii. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, works under the DHS to enforce immigration law within the U.S. The Honolulu Police Department and other local police are not a part of DHS. Hawaii police have stated that they do not collaborate with ICE. However, some community reports have claimed otherwise. ICE agents do not have to wear the official ICE uniform. It is a federal requirement that agents identify themselves during an arrest as soon as it is practical and safe to do so. These judgments of practical and safe are subjective and discretionary, meaning ICE may not identify themselves. Many reports include ICE agents wearing plain clothes or masks. ICE operations primarily use a variety of unmarked vehicles, including SUVs, sedans, and vans. These vehicles are sometimes rented and often equipped with tinted windows. Other federal agencies, such as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO, and U.S. Marshals may be collaborating with ICE. Note that the Department of Land and Natural Resources, or DLNR, is often mistaken for ICE but not involved in raids. You always have the rights to ask agents to identify themselves, to remain silent, to record, to refuse searches without a valid judicial warrant, or to speak with a lawyer even if you do not have one on retainer. You have rights in every situation, but the ideal course of action in different situations can vary. We'll go through different types of interactions with ICE and other forms of DHS enforcement, starting with being approached in public. When you are approached in public, you may ask agents to identify themselves. You may ask, "Am I free to go?" If they say yes, you may walk away. Do not run. This can create cause to detain and arrest. If they say no, you may ask why you are being detained and get officers' names and badge numbers. You may invoke your right to remain silent by saying calmly, "I invoke my right to remain silent," each time you are asked a question. You have the right to not disclose your country of origin and criminal history. You may ask, "I want to speak with a lawyer." When ICE asks for your ID, your legal obligation depends on your situation. Persons with student, work, or tourist visas and green card holders are legally required to show their ID. Both citizens and people without U.S. documents are not legally required to show papers or provide an answer. If you have documents that might advantage you, such as receipts of pending applications, you may choose to show them. The Oʻahu Rapid Response Coalition, or ORRC, advises lists of do's and don'ts for interacting with ICE and federal law enforcement. This advice is as follows. You do not have to offer information regarding immigration status or country of origin to federal or local law enforcement unless you are at a border. Do not carry fake documents. Lying to federal and local law enforcement is a crime. Do not run when interacting with ICE or federal or local law enforcement. This can create cause to detain or arrest. You may choose to not disclose your criminal history or country of origin or carry passports or anything stating country of origin. Instead, the ORRC advises carrying the following documents: work permit, I-94, receipts of pending applications, notice to appear, and attorney business cards. The ORRC also advises memorizing A numbers, also known as alien numbers, if applicable. If ICE agents or persons who you expect to be ICE agents approach the door to your home, you have the right not to open the door. Keep in mind that ICE is allowed to use ruses or give false information to get you to open the door. Instead, you may calmly ask officers to slip their IDs and a warrant under the door. If they do so, you may take photos of what is shown. If they refuse, you may ask for their names and contact information. If officers do not have a valid judicial warrant, you may say, "I do not consent for you to enter this home," or "I do not want to talk to you without a lawyer present." You may also ask for them to leave. Even if your requests are not heeded, saying these things can help you in court later. If ICE agents or persons who you suspect to be ICE agents show up at your place of work, employees are protected under the U.S. Constitution and the Hawaii State Constitution. Workers have the right to remain silent and refuse searches of workplaces and bodies if there is no valid judicial search warrant. If arrested, workers have the right to speak to an attorney. You may designate private spaces to protect vulnerable groups. This can be done by hanging signs saying "No public entry" or "Employees/students only." Example signs can be downloaded from hawaiij20.com/KYR. We've spoken a lot about valid judicial search warrants, but how can you identify one? A judicial search warrant authorizes officers to search the specified individuals or locations listed in the warrant. These are issued by a court of law, not immigration court. They must state a person's name and the address of search locations. They must have a date. Each warrant is only valid within 14 days of issue. They must be signed by a judge on the bottom right of the document. Without all of these components, a document is not a valid judicial search warrant and does not authorize a search. An administrative warrant is a DHS form signed by an ICE agent. This is not a legal basis for an ICE official to enter your home or private space. When ICE and other federal enforcement operates in public, the observers and witnesses have the right to record. If you are recording and an agent tells you to stop, you may say, "I am exercising my rights to document." If you are recording on private property, the owner of that property sets rules about recording, not federal or local law enforcement. It is illegal to interfere with federal or local law enforcement's actions. The ORRC recommends that witnesses record at a safe distance and that witnesses be calm. Do not argue or resist. Do not block pathways, and move away if the situation feels unsafe. The ORRC provides a variety of recommendations to increase the likelihood that recordings will be valid evidence for use in court. These recommendations include that you record horizontally to capture more of the scene, be transparent with your recording, focus the camera on law enforcement, note the names and badge numbers of law enforcement along with details such as equipment, weapons, and vehicle information. Note the incident location and time. Keep your device steady. Start recording before key actions when possible. Do not zoom excessively. And avoid commentary other than necessary information. Federal and local law enforcement cannot take or view recordings without a valid judicial warrant. If you are arrested, they may look at your recordings but cannot destroy them and must return them to you. To restrict access, you may password protect your device and turn off facial recognition settings. Your password is protected under your Fifth Amendment rights, but facial and fingerprint recognition are not. To preserve recordings, the ORRC recommends that you keep original files and back them up securely. To preserve evidence, do not edit recordings. When documenting written notes, the ORRC recommends the use of this acronym SALUTE. S is for the size of a group of officers. A is for actions and activity, describing what officers are doing. L is for location, document address or cross streets. Include direction if a group is moving. U is for uniforms or clothes. Look for identifying abbreviations like ICE, FBI, or HPD. T is for time and date. E is for equipment and weapons. The ORRC recommends that observers document this information as soon as possible, focusing on facts instead of opinions and using exact wording when possible. To keep evidence admissible, the ORRC suggests that witnesses do not guess motives, describe behaviors with emotions such as angry or guilty, or fill in gaps that were not directly witnessed. When speaking to an individual being detained, you may let the person know that they are there to support them if it is safe for them to do so. You may ask if they need you to do anything, such as notifying their family or getting their medicine. To be proactive, those worried about detainment may share their A number and date and country of birth within their network. This is used to track a detainee in the federal system. ICE detainees have the right to legal access and a phone contact. Eligible free calls to legal representatives are limited, and detainees can only make other calls when they have access to funds. For this reason, various groups recommend carrying cash if one fears detainment or giving cash to a person being detained. Parents with children may be proactive by preparing a caregiver affidavit and making copies, adding caregiver information to emergency information at schools, and keeping important documents and information about their children in accessible places. For those who want to help, the ORRC and various other organizations recommend becoming familiar with your rights and sharing this information.
Thanks, Preston. To learn more about your rights in specific areas or situations, visit your local ACLU page. Next up, we have a Q&A section with Sergio Alcubia of the American Civil Liberties Union and Nettabel Chardon of the Legal Clinic. They are here in studio with our very own Jocelyn Rose.
Thank you, Savvy. I'm Jocelyn Rose with CSS Digital Studios. Today, I'm sitting down with Sergio Alcubilla of the ACLU and Nettabel Chardon of the Legal Clinic to bring you answers to some frequently asked questions. Now, thank you both for being here today. Our first question is common among workers. What should staff do if ICE is trying to detain a patron inside of their office or businesses?
Jocelyn, that's a great question. So if you're a business owner, you should already have a plan in place as to what you would do, as to what your staff would do if ICE agents are in your place of business. I think first is just go back to what that protocol is that's set. If you're an employee and the manager is not there, you should know kind of what the next step should be. Who do you need to contact? And also at the same time, you need to determine your own level of risk and what you're comfortable with. So I think your options at this point, you would include ask to see the judicial warrant. You could record the encounter on your phone, and you can take notes about what agencies were involved and other details of the encounter. But most importantly, do not physically interfere. You don't have a duty to assist or provide additional information if requested, unless it is to provide an employee's I-9. So you do have a right to remain silent. And if someone is detained, make sure that you inform their family members or friends and get that contact information. But in general, I think it's really the onus is on the managers and the business owners to make sure that there is a plan in place to begin with.
Thank you for outlining that information for us. Now, another common questions folks have when interacting with ICE is whether or not they should call local police for help.
Yeah, that question is a little bit trickier. At the moment, of course, we ask people just to determine your own level of risk. What are you comfortable with? At the moment, we are asking our local police agencies not to enter into these agreements with ICE that deputize our local police officers into assisting with immigration enforcement. We're also asking our local elected officials to pass laws that bar these types of agreements and require ICE agents to provide clear identification. So our concern really is that it's very easy for someone to impersonate an ICE agent, and if you feel that a person's civil rights or physical safety is at risk in such a situation, I think at that point it might make sense to contact your local police force. But again, we ask folks, what are you comfortable with at the moment? And it's really on our elected officials and the policy work that we're doing to make sure that our elected officials don't enter into these type of agreements to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so you mentioned that asking local elected officials to pass laws. I know that there are several bills moving through the Hawaii legislature that relate to immigration enforcement. How would you suggest that folks stay up to date with these issues and others that relate to civil rights?
Stay informed. You could go on our website, acluhawaii.org. You can sign up to become a member. You can receive our news updates, or you can, join with other organizations like the Legal Clinic, the Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights. We currently have a campaign for immigrant justice at the moment that's pushing for these policy changes. And we ask folks to go on that website, HCIR, sign up, stay informed. I think the most important thing is just that citizens and residents just, they feel secure in knowing what their rights are. So I think that's the first step, is know what your basic rights are. And then from that point, just continue to stay informed and stay active. I think that's the main thing, is just be part of the solutions.
Thank you, I appreciate it. That's really helpful advice. And so sometimes it can be hard to keep straight all of these different policies, especially when government organizations make claims that seem to conflict with those made by civil rights organizations. For instance, a DHS press release in February stated that ICE can use administrative warrants to enter a person's residence if that person has received a removal order from a judge. How can people tell if the warrant is valid when the definition of validity is being contested?
That's a really great question, and I'll leave, maybe Naribel can answer some of that point later. But it's just important to be familiar with the differences between a judicial and administrative warrant. So the Fourth Amendment still exists, and we must continue to invoke it. So the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. And no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation and participately describing the place to be searched. So it's long, but I want people to be familiar with what that amendment says. The ACLU is currently suing DHS for violations in the class action lawsuit on behalf of 3 Minnesota residents to challenge the administration's policy of racially profiling and unlawfully seizing and arresting people without a warrant and without probable cause. So this is a violation of our constitutional rights to equal protection, and this is why documenting these type of infractions is important, because down the road you want to be able to use this as evidence, right? So that's why we ask people, if you can record, at a safe distance, do so. And I think the most important things to protect our rights is to make sure that we know what they are and to also invoke it. We say we have the right to remain silent. We have the right against unreasonable searches and seizures. And then the main thing is just we invoke it and we say we're practicing our constitutional rights.
Yeah, thank you so much for all of this valuable information. And thank you again, Sergio. Next, we're going to turn to Naribel for some more frequently asked questions. Now, how can folks find a person after they've been detained?
Detained people can do only so much. Once you are detained, you will not have access to your phone. You will not have access to your personal property because it's going to be taken by ICE. So the best way to go is to prepare in advance. And you should carry in your memory first the important phone numbers of those people that you're going to call if anything happens to you. If you can recall it, also you should have a tiny card with those numbers. The people that are outside that may know about your detention or may be suspicious about you being arrested, there are some websites that they can go into to identify those have been detained by ICE. The other one is the BOP.gov. Those two can both help people to find detainees. It is important to have the full name of that person. Sometimes you may have to play with the spelling. Sometimes you need to play with the last names, but you should be able to find somebody. However, when somebody is detained, the system is not going to populate immediately. It may take a couple of days. So it's important to constantly keep on checking. Those two websites are the ones that are going to be accurate in identifying if the person is under ICE custody. And here in Hawaii, the detention center, meaning the federal detention center that is close to the airport, is where those ICE detainees are held.
Thank you so much. I think those are really important to understand, because I know that a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of those websites. So just even being aware of their existence can really help in this process. So in your work with the legal clinic, you encounter lots of folks with different beliefs. Can you address some common misconceptions about immigration that you hear?
That is a good question, and that is a very common one. People are often confused about what is an arrest versus deportation. And we need to be mindful that deportation is the a possible final result of a removal proceeding. Sergio has been talking about due process, and the government should afford people with due process. So that means that the person needs to have the opportunity to know what they're being charged with. They also have the right to counter those charges. They also have the right to provide evidence. And they also have the right to a trial. Immigration trial, that means individual hearing. So once the person is arrested, that doesn't mean that the person is going to be immediately deported. Deportation is a possible outcome again, and if a person has already gone through the removal proceedings and they have a final removal order, then deportation may happen right away.
I see that we have one more question for you guys, and I just want to ask, how can folks get involved to help?
I mean, one thing you can do is you can join the ACLU. You can be a member of the ACLU. You can go on our website, again, acluhawaii.org, and sign up just to stay in contact and just stay informed and become a member. I think second I had mentioned is join our campaign for immigrant justice. That's something that we're doing together with our different organizations, with the Legal Clinic, the Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights, and I think together collectively we're really pushing for these bill changes. But just we ask people just to know your rights, be informed, be an informed citizen or resident, and exercise those rights.
Remember that knowledge is power. Regardless of your immigration status, get informed. Also, be a good neighbor. Mind about the ones around you. You can also volunteer, and there are several ways that you can volunteer. You can volunteer as a court observer. You can volunteer, and you will be trained on that. You can volunteer to provide financial, emotional support, not only to the detainees and the people that are facing removal process, but also the ones that are left behind, the families that are left behind.
Yes. And then just, second, there's a few rapid response coalitions that have been forming. That's another way that you can volunteer and just continue to stay involved. I think in addition to knowing what your rights are, just play an active role in finding some solutions to this issue.
You can also play a role in advocacy by writing testimonies, because we are pushing for good bills and opposing bad bills. That's easy. There's a website, and we can also train you on how to write a very brief testimony.
Yes.
Thank you both so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that informative session. Now we turn back to Nettabel Chardon, Senior Staff Attorney with the Legal Clinic Hawaii.
The Legal Clinic's mission is to ensure justice for low-income immigrants and migrants in Hawaii through high-quality immigration legal services, education, and advocacy. Originally arising from Tender Loving Care, TLC, our founders had to find the words to match the acronym with the purpose of the organization they wanted to create. TLC is an independent nonprofit organization located in Honolulu, serving residents statewide, and is affiliated with the Immigration Law and Justice Network, which is a national network currently composed of 16 organizations similar to TLC, spread across the nation. More specifically, TLC provides direct legal services ranging from consultations with an attorney to providing removal defense by representing individuals in immigration court. TLC also provides assistance and representation with affirmative applications before the USCIS, which include naturalization, legal permanent residency, commonly known as green card, changes of status, asylum, and visa applications. To fulfill its goal of community education, TLC conducts info sessions, trainings, conferences, and presentations on immigrant justice topics. TLC invests in Hawaii's legal sector and next generation by providing opportunities for law students, paralegal program students, high schoolers, attorneys, and others to learn about immigration law firsthand. We do this through internships, externships, and volunteer programs. Through coalition leadership and advocacy, TLC advances county and state policies that defend due process and access to justice, strengthen fairness, safety, and dignity for immigrant communities in Hawaii. We do that by engaging policymakers, collaborating with community partners and national experts, testifying in support of bills that advance these goals, and opposing bills that do the opposite. We also participate in and support national campaigns for federal reforms. TLC is committed to assisting the nearly 1 in 5 residents of Hawaii who are foreign-born and the over 50,000 who are not yet U.S. citizens and who may be eligible to apply but do not know the how to navigate the complex immigration legal system or cannot afford costly attorney's fees. TLC is also committed to tens of thousands of Hawaii residents who are out of status and at risk of being put into removal proceedings. TLC is putting all its efforts and resources into filling the gap in providing legal representation to those facing potential deportation. For more information and to contact us, please visit www.tlchawaii.org or call us at 808-777-7071.
Next up, we welcome Miriam Al-Amari, a student at the William S. Richardson School of Law representing the Hawaii chapter of the ACLU.
The ACLU of Hawaiʻi is a private, nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that has been protecting the civil rights and civil liberties of Hawaii Islands since its inception in 1965, with community partners and volunteers. We ensure that the government does not violate fundamental rights, regardless of race, socioeconomic status, gender expression, sexual orientation, or anything else. Our work spans the court, legislatures, and local communities, defending freedoms and advancing justice every day. Visit the ACLU Hawaii website at acluhi.org and sign up to stay updated or to volunteer. On our website, visit the Resources tab and you can see our Library of Know Your Rights presentations, covering various issues from immigrant rights to student rights. If you need legal help, you can fill out our intake form for a member of our legal team to review your application. Join our various coalitions like Campaign for Immigrant Justice, Reimagining Public Safety, and Oʻahu Rapid Response.
To learn more, visit acluhi.org for local information or aclu.org for national information. Now we have Gay Chan representing the Oʻahu Rapid Response Coalition.
The Oʻahu Rapid Response Coalition, or ORRC, is an all-volunteer coalition. We're regular, everyday people, wait staff at restaurants and bars, nutritionists, business people, doctors, teachers, Uber drivers, attorneys, caregivers, students, accountants, artists, retirees, and so many more. We've come together because we're concerned about governmental overreach. We're concerned about the lawlessness of Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. We're furious about their total disregard for due process and our constitutional rights. Our work is to organize a systemic rapid response to document ICE activity on Oahu. We're not attempting to interfere or impede, but we want to put them on notice that we're watching them and documenting what they do. The record reproduced will inform the public at large and can provide crucial evidence in the court of law, and just as importantly, in the court of public opinion. After all, if not for the footage that documented Renee Good and Alex Preedy's murders, it would have been extremely difficult to challenge the lies uttered by the Trump administration. It's the video footage, from multiple angles no less, that shows us neither Good nor Preedy were domestic terrorists, as claimed by former Homeland Security Director Kristi Noem, but rather everyday regular people. The ORC has a hotline to receive and document reports of ICE sightings. If deemed necessary, our call answering team will dispatch the Rapid Response Team to go on site, to observe, and to document. For the system to work effectively, we need everyone to put the hotline number on their phone contact. We also need everyone who's concerned about what's happening to join our Rapid Response Team. We need eyes and ears throughout our island. All of our volunteers go through basic training for our collective safety. The training includes information about how to identify ICE and other immigration agents, our constitutional rights in our homes, at work, and on the street, our rights to remain silent, and our rights to record. Here in the United States, we have a constitution and we have rights. The best way to keep them is to exercise them. Please join us in holding our government accountable. Sign up at the link on your screen.
To learn more about the Rapid Response Coalition, visit the Coalitions page of the ACLU website. To get involved as a volunteer, visit the website on the bottom of your screen. For additional resources, visit hawaiij20.com. Last, but certainly not least, for today's informational presentations, we bring you Stephanie Haro-Sevilla and Pilar Cam, attorneys with UH's Refugee and Immigration Law Clinic.
Hello, my name is Pilar Cam.
And I am Stephanie Haro-Sevilla. We are here to introduce our clinical program and share how we can support you and your community.
We are a clinical program at the William S. Richardson School of Law. That means we are a part of the law school, and our work is grounded in both legal education and community service. Our team includes 1 director, 3 fellows, and 1 law student assistant. Each semester, we teach a clinical course with about 8 to 10 law students who work directly on immigration cases under attorney supervision.
Because of the support we receive from the community, we are able to provide services to individuals and their family who might not otherwise have access to legal help. Let us talk about what we offer.
One of our core services is our Immigration and Detention Hotline. The number is 808-204-5951. The hotline operates every day of the week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It provides immediate assistance for individuals who are detained by ICE or facing an immigration emergency involving immigration officials. If someone has just been detained, if a family member doesn't know where their loved one is being held, or if there is an urgent interaction with immigration enforcement, our hotline is the first place to call. We provide guidance, help families understand next steps, and connect them with legal resources as quickly as possible.
Another major area of our work is asylum and deportation defense. We assist individuals who are seeking protection because they fear persecution in their home countries, and we represent or support individuals who are in removal proceedings. Deportation defense can be complex and high stakes, so we work closely with clients to prepare applications, gather evidence, and advocate on their behalf.
We also host naturalization workshops. During these workshops, we help eligible individuals fill out the required forms and provide guidance throughout the application process. We review documentation, answer questions, and make sure applications are completed as accurately as possible. These workshops are designed to make the process less intimidating and more accessible.
In addition, we assist eligible individuals with DACA renewals, helping them understand requirements and prepare their submissions. We are only able to take a limited number of cases, but if we cannot represent someone, we can refer them to other immigration attorneys and organizations in the community.
For those who are unsure about their options, we offer free consultations. During these consultations, we assess your case, explain potential forms of release, and provide appropriate referrals and connections. Sometimes that means we can take the case. Other times, we may refer you to another organization or private attorney who is better suited to handle a specific issue. Either way, our goal is to ensure you leave with clearer information and better understanding of your options.
We also provide access to Know Your Rights materials. These include wallet-size Know Your Right cards and practical tips about what to do if ICE approaches you at home, at work, in your car, or in a public space. We review important principles such as the right to remain silent, the right to refuse consent to a search without a warrant, and the importance of not signing documents without understanding them. Knowing your rights does not mean being in confrontations. It means being informed and prepared.
At this time, we do not provide assistance with student visas or employment-based visas. Our focus is primarily on humanitarian relief, deportation defense, naturalization, DACA, and emergency response related to detention.
Our mission is not only to provide legal services, but also empower communities through education. Know Your Rights trainings like this one are a critical part of that mission. When individuals understand their rights and have access to accurate information, they are better equipped to protect themselves and their families.
If you or someone you know may need assistance, please reach out to us, share our hotline number, attend our workshops, schedule a consultation. Even if we cannot directly represent you, we will do our best to connect you with trusted resources.
Thank you again for watching, for caring about your rights, and for supporting one another. We are honored to serve this community, and we look forward to continuing to work together. Mahalo.
A big thank you to all of our studio guests today, and thank you for sticking with us. Remember to share within your networks to spread information regarding your rights. For CSS Digital Studios, I'm Savvy Andrews. Mahalo.
Artlist.io